listen, in this episode, I think we want to go out on a limb and talk about AI. But with AI, there's a there's a so the kind of like the commoditization, if you will, if you want to call it that, of AI has happened for at least a few years now. It's been about
What,
2-3 years now,
yeah.
and already there's like studies coming out about how AI is affecting people in the workplace and their career, which
Yep.
I found pretty interesting that we could pull these, stats off already. But that's what we want to talk about today, like how AI is affecting folks in their career at different portions of their career. Nick, I'm gonna let you start us off here today. Get us where we need to be. You know what I'm saying? What information do we need
So
here?
I was really, interested in a podcast, another podcast that I watched on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Russinovich and Scott Hanselman from Microsoft, they do a podcast. I've watched a decent number of episodes of it. But the most recent that I saw, and I posted about this on LinkedIn during the week as well, was this talking about the impact of AI specifically on developers and how it's having impact in different places in terms of the where you are in your career, whether you're an experienced person or a new person. And outside of that, we can see all kinds of stuff going on in our economy. We can see stuff going on with announcements from large businesses where, we're changing our workforce, we're redesigning, we're laying off. In the background, we've got this whole AI everywhere kind of thing. And we also have this situation of people who are coming out of college feeling like they're having difficulty getting into the workforce because of AI. Now, a lot of this is a little bit unfounded. I don't think it's necessarily proven that all of these things are like cause and effect. But I certainly found it interesting to think about the idea of we talk about the value of AI or tools like Copilot as if that value is universal. No matter who you are and where you are, you're going to get some kind of value. But actually breaking it down to think of the particular unique qualities of AI tools like Copilot in terms of the type of data it will return to you, in terms of hallucination, in terms of being able to filter that fact from hallucination, how that might impact people at different places in their career differently. And I certainly think this is something we must all be thinking about when we're thinking about hiring, when we're thinking about designing our organizations, and goes far beyond the point of that original conversation I started with, which was developers. I think this impacts absolutely everyone. And so I thought this was a really good thing to chat with you, because I know, Therman, that you're generally afraid of AI anyway. So I wanted to provide the opportunity to add a new nightmare for you around how it's going to impact people's career paths.
Yeah, well, one of the things mentioned on the podcast that you referenced, which we'll leave a link in the comments or in the description, they talked about developers not learning. This thing stood out to me because it's like like Grammarly or spell check, where when that first came out, a lot of people were like, well, you're not going to learn how to spell if you got a computer doing it for you. And that is true. That I think has proven itself, that people think they don't have to know how to spell because all of the places that they write can correct their spelling for them. So what's the point of needing to know how to spell? I think that has come true. So the same thing with AI. I completely understand being a new developer and using AI, and with all of the issues you have with AI, not learning. However, one thing that AI can do, and let's say an example again with the spelling, AI can tell you why you're wrong. The problem is that even in telling you why you're wrong, it might be wrong. You know what I'm saying? So if you, let's say you're coding some JavaScript, you're early in your career, you're doing some JavaScript, and you write a piece of code that is not working. So you take it to the AI. You take it to the AI, and then you drop it in there, and you say, "Hey, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Why is this not working?" It will give you the result, and give you the answer. So you can take that answer and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Now I can use that going forward, because it's like having a older developer standing there telling you, next time you call this up, you got to call it
More
like this.
experienced.
More
I think you
experience.
just said more
Sorry.
experienced,
Yeah.
not necessarily older.
Yeah. They were definitely using that terminology to describe where you were in your career. They used the terms junior and senior, and I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So senior developer, it's like having a senior developer just hanging out there saying, having the patience with you to say, don't do it that way. Do it like this. Trust me, this way is better. And here's why you want to use it going forward. Something like that. The issue you run into is that AI can still be wrong even in its explanation. AI is a very confident and arrogant assistant, because it will tell you something with its chest and it can be totally wrong. Now, the fix to that, I think, is where they also mention that we might need full-time teachers. Like instead of you being a developer and like on the side, being a senior developer, and then like on the side of your duties, you're also like helping out the junior developers. Mm-hmm. Instead of it being part of your duty, your literal actual duty is to train and teach these folks.
To bring people along.
I think, say it again?
To bring people along, to help them out with their career.
I think that there's a combination here that could work. There's the combination of junior developer, AI, and senior developer. Like, could you imagine a situation where maybe a senior developer says, bring your transcripts, your AI transcripts, if you will, to our next one-on-one, so I can see how you're handling the development along with AI, and then maybe has you highlight areas where you were stuck or something like that. And now you, the senior developer, and the AI printed out or whatever, you review it, and then you actually talk about it with the junior developer and explain how going forward, this is what you want to think about. If I was a young developer, I'd be all in. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that AI hallucinates. I know that AI can tell me incorrect things. And I enjoy talking to people. I would rather have my AI and the person. And I mean, at that point, I could be a pretty powerful developer, I think. So I think that's a good move in the right direction to combat this whole, it's making people, not smart. Basically leaning on the AI.
Yeah, and I mean, you can take the word developer out of everything that you've just said. Like, I think this is a generalized issue that exists with, you start work not knowing how to do stuff, and you learn along the way. Like, you might think you know how to do stuff, because look at me, I've got this certificate from this college that says I have a degree in X. And then you learn pretty quickly that means very, very little in terms of the actual specifics of how to do a job. But, in fairness, colleges do work on this, placement programs, internship programs, this idea of how do we make education more real. But you still have this problem of people start somewhere and they know less at that point than someone who's been doing it 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. About the specifics of it. The difficulty is that what happens if that layer of people just disappears? We're like, okay, well, we have someone in our law office, we have associates, so that we can only give the things that are important to the partners to do, or we have junior accountants because we want the senior people to be focused on X, and suddenly a senior person with their AI is actually more productive than that senior person plus 10 junior people. And so you say, well, why would we need the junior people? And suddenly you've got this situation of our pipeline to being experienced, to being senior, to having a career has suddenly disappeared, because in the short term, at least, we can deliver more by doing whatever it is we do with AI. But I can deliver more with AI than potentially I can with filling up an office full of people. So why would I ever bother?
But wait, hold on, Nick. So you're telling me I don't know if that was hypothetical, or if you believe that a senior person, let's say the senior partner, using AI
Yep.
along with, let's say, some 10 juniors
Yep.
who are also using AI
Yep.
would not be as effective as the senior partner using AI and a bunch of agents, AI agents.
I mean, that's potentially the trajectory that we're going on. And when we see these situations where, in bold headlines, X company has downsized or laid off or isn't hiring to these new positions, or I graduated from college last year and I'm working at Starbucks even though I have a degree in X because I can't find a job doing it. And the reason that is given for all these things, whether it's stated or completely unstated, and in most cases it's unstated, but the rationale that seems to be threaded between these things is because AI. And so the takeaway must be that we need less people, and we need less, certainly less junior people, because we can now fill in those junior slots with AI. But it's incredibly short-sighted, because where did
Yes, it
senior
is.
people of 20 years come from? You have to learn somewhere. And so this idea of productivity at all costs, which seems to have become something that we are just focused on. Let's take a tool like Copilot, or let's take a tool like ChatGPT, and only worry about like what does it actually add to in terms of productivity. Is missing the point that it's at some point you can't just have ChatGPT buying from Copilot and Copilot buying from ChatGPT and think that you're going to run a healthy economy or a healthy world doing that. At some point, there has to be a person involved. And we seem to, in some ways, be missing that. And the point that I took away from the discussion in the podcast that we started off talking about was this idea that we have to rethink that. We have to have a pipeline. And even if we need to invest in things now to have a pipeline for the future, that's a mindset that we must have, because AI is not going to fill in all these gaps now. It's not going to fill them all in 10 years' time. It's not going to fill them all in 50 years' time. There still have to be people doing something.
Okay, but it wasn't just one company who did major layoffs at the corporate level. It was multiple companies, big boy companies, doing layoffs in droves. And apparently, October, yeah, I think it was October, was the highest number of layoffs across the board since 2003. Yeah, I think it was 2003 or 2000. Was it 23? Dang it! I wish I remembered that stat. I should have prepped with that stat. But it was significant to where if let's say one company or maybe two companies did it, it'd be like, what are these guys thinking? What, did they go to the same conference and heard the same news, so now they're ready to jump out the window? Okay, cool, fine. But it was multiple companies, multiple major companies laying off large numbers of people. What do they know that we don't know? Because we're here at this level, and a bunch of other people at our level who are saying, don't worry about it. It's not what we're thinking is going to, how crazy it's going to get. It's not going to happen tomorrow. The people at these companies think that it is going to happen tomorrow. Matter of fact, they think it's happening today, to the point where they need to get rid of all of those folks. So they know something that we don't know, or they're just, not intelligent. Because why would you do that? Why would you think it's in your best strategic decision for this organization to let go of that many people that high up the chain in hopes that AI is going to take you where you need to be?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily either of those options. I think there's more moving pieces that are going on, but the basic reality, and it was some time ago that I got into a little bit of a disagreement with some people on LinkedIn, because I wrote something. I forget exactly what it was that I wrote, but it was kind of along the lines of, all of these things that we're talking about with AI here and AI there and apps and agents and whatever you want to call it. It's all very well to look at all of this stuff and like what it's generating or isn't generating. And, we can go back and forth on all of that. But ultimately, at the end of every chain, no matter how long that chain is, we get back to there's an individual buying something, right? Like all of this is only sustainable because ultimately we exist and we need things, right? That is the foundational concept of, we have an economy and what drives an economy. And so this idea that can just, just go away and we eliminate, 20% of position, 30% of positions, like, and unless you're going to magically eliminate the needs of all of those people as well, like, it just doesn't work, because the company that's building efficiency over here by that elimination of people is also losing customers over here by the elimination of people in the other company, and those people don't have a salary, and so they can't buy whatever it is you're selling over here, and it spirals us down a drain. Now, I don't claim to be an economist, so there might be economists listening to what I'm saying and say, well, that just isn't how it works. But I would push back to an economist and say, yes, it is. Because in that case, the primacy of common sense has to be taken, that if no one has any money because no one has any jobs, then nothing is going to work. You can't take this stuff and just multiply it endlessly and expect everything to work. So I think
it sounds like we might need to have an economist on the show.
Because maybe we need to have an economist on the show.
I need an explanation of that, because if you have, I think I told you about this. I can't remember. My daughter's in college now, take a lot of trips back and forth. One of the times that I was sitting outside of her college, I saw a little robot, like with an antenna on it with some wheels, come driving up to the front of her dorm. Then a kid came out of the dorm, held his phone over that little machine. It popped open. He took his food out of there and then, went upstairs. So I'm like, oh, they have robot delivery drivers, if you will, or whatever, on campus. So let's say that this company used to deliver to the campus and had about 10 people focused on this campus. And maybe these people made, I don't know, $40,000 a year delivering. So 40 times 10, that's $400,000 that is costing the company to pay those 10 people. Now they implement the AI to find out how they could get robots to do it. And they're like, okay, cool. We can get robots to deliver this stuff. In that, they eliminate 8 of those positions. So 40 times 8, what's that? 320,000. They eliminate 8 people. They save $320,000. They keep 2 people on because they need those 2 people to be the people who manage the robots, if you will. They still pay those 2 people. They don't. The robots cost significantly less than what it was to pay those people, the $320,000 they saved, and the kids at the dorm never worked there. So it was not like they're losing their jobs, but the kids at the dorm, they have money to pay for the food to get delivered. So this company just saved a whole bunch of money, and now they can increase because they could take the saved money and get more robots, which costs less than paying a person. No benefits, no lunch breaks, no calling in sick, just maintenance on these robots. That is the way that the people up the food chain in these companies are thinking. They're not thinking what you just said, because if they were, they know collectively that they're working against earning money from people who make money. I don't know what I don't see how they can come to the conclusion that what they're doing doesn't make sense. They're trying to increase profits faster, and they're competing with other companies. And in this small, description I just gave of the delivery folks, it's in their best incentive. It's in their best. It's a great decision for them to fire those 8 people. Unfortunately,
yes.
What am I missing? I don't see what.
You're not missing anything. This is the conundrum at the micro scale. For every individual business, then what you're laying out makes 100% sense. But if you extrapolate that out and say we're going to do that in every single business, then it no longer makes any sense whatsoever.
Correct.
So it's this giant game of chicken that every business is playing with the economy. And I say if, their approach is we're going to utilize this new technology to eliminate positions en masse. Now, that isn't everyone. So if you think about like what we heard from Mark and Scott, who are senior leaders at Microsoft, they were talking about a different approach. They were talking about thinking about this more long term, thinking about the fact that you have to have people who are in those junior positions where the value they bring is perhaps learning for the future versus the productivity that they deliver today. Now, I can imagine that there might be a tension between that longer term mindset and the people who are invested in Microsoft or companies like that wanting to see their returns today or tomorrow or next year versus the returns that are given by investing in people today for 10 years' time or 20 years' time. And even more controversially, something they said was maybe smaller businesses aren't in a position to do this. So maybe the pipeline of senior people to smaller businesses comes from the people who start out at a company like Microsoft and then end up working somewhere different. So Microsoft as a company, or Apple or Google or P&G or whatever it might be, these big businesses are maybe expected in the long term to invest in junior people coming out of college just so the entire economy can function in 20 years' time. Now, I'm not sure that's anything that the shareholders of these companies have signed up to, but it's something that we need to get in front of because it genuinely is a problem. Now, the one thing that we've touched on here, Therman, is the idea of, well, what's the impact on the economy of that not happening, right? So we've thought about that. That's kind of outside the realms of what we usually think about. But there's another thing that is within the realms of what we think about, which is the impact on individual businesses, which is why is this a problem? Why is a junior person with AI significantly less effective than a senior person with AI? And it's because this stuff still gets things wrong a lot of the time. And we need to be able to have the discernment of experience, or the discernment that can come with experience, in order to be able to know what is problematic from what is actually reality that we can work with. And it's going to take you as a junior employee. Like, imagine you had your coach or your mentor when you start out, and there's a strong likelihood that in anything that person tells you, they might be lying to you. Like, imagine being like you started off in the military, right? So imagine a situation where you start and an order isn't something you necessarily need to follow because the person who's giving that order 20% of the time is probably lying. How would you ever have learned anything or got anything done?
Right. But yeah, there's no substitute for experience. There just isn't. And they're trying to bill AI as this thing that does have experience, but it really truly doesn't. It just has first it has to be told experience. It doesn't know anything about anything. It has to be told about experience, and then it has to compute experience through equations that they try to mimic with humans. It can get simple stuff right. You know what I'm saying? But humans with real experience, and yes, humans with real experience in real life will get you nuanced, thought through,
and they'll
real
also get
answers.
stuff wrong as well. I mean, this is the conundrum. This is the conundrum, that you do get told wrong stuff all the time. But, you know, the copilot is never going to come back to you. Certainly it isn't right now. It's not going to come back to you the next day and say, you know, I was laying in bed last night and it just struck me that I told you entirely the wrong thing. You know, like, Copilot is never going to do that, but humans are going to do that. You know, like, we're going to think about it. We're going to go away. We're going to be like, I have no idea why I told Therman to do that. That was completely the wrong advice. So I'm going to go back and correct that and hope he hasn't done it yet. You know, and this is the difference. And it's interesting because, you know, a couple of weeks ago we had Abram on the show, like, outlining what these things can do, you know, what agents can do, the power of these things. And I completely agree with him. But I also agree with this point of view of, you know, we can't trust these things at all in certain contexts. And the bigger issue is their wrongness is incredibly alluring. You know, and
Yes.
I literally have a course that I can deliver on responsible AI. And yet I will sit there and I will use ChatGPT or Copilot or Claude, and I'll get it to help me with something that I know well. And I'll be like, why did it tell me that? That's crap. I don't know why
Right.
it took. And I'll go back and get it to change it, and I'll get the right answer. And then I'll need something in a domain that I know very little about, and I'll do my AI thing. And for some reason, I'll believe that what it told me is true.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
know why. I have to sit there and tell myself that there is a bigger likelihood that what it's told me is wrong as the thing that I already knew about that was wrong. And I have to find a way of working that out. But for some reason, and I don't think I'm alone in this, I think I'm with most people in this, I get that thing that I don't know the answer to, and I'm like, oh, that must be right, because ChatGPT told me.
Well, see, now I was there, but here's the difference though. First of all, I like asking people things. I like when they give me nuanced answers to things. I like that. I also like the straightforwardness of just asking ChatGPT. But if you also remember what it is like to Google, when you Google, excuse me, the whole experience with Googling was different before they put the AI stuff in front of you. You would Google, then you'd get a list of answers. Then you would choose an answer. And then when you choose the answer, you're going to the source of where that answer is. So that whole experience is different than ChatGPT cutting out all of that. Even though it puts the links, I'm pretty sure most people are taking it for surface value and then they'll click the link if necessary. There is no set of choices, and coming from people and businesses and all that other stuff, and then you deciding on a choice, and then nuancing through each of these, and then saying, okay, I've come to a conclusion, and maybe even I want to reach out to this person who published this to ask some more questions. That whole experience has been flipped on its head by ChatGPT, and in order for Google to keep up, they had to do the same thing. They had to put the AI answer right in front of you, push the results down, and put the answer right in front of you, and now train people to look at that first answer and probably take it at face value. This is the whole difference in why you would use it differently. It feels right. It feels right, but it's not always right. That's why I said these chatbots can say something so convincingly with their chest. You should know something is up, because every time you give it something stupid, it even comes back and says, yeah, that's a good idea. You should work on that.
The best way to discover how inaccurate an AI response can be is to spend some time getting it to tell you stuff that you know really well. Don't spend time getting it to tell you stuff that you want to find out about. Take something that you're an expert on and have a chat with AI about that. And, a lot of the time you'll find that the answer for a particular contextual use is good enough. Like, there are issues, but they're not significant issues. They don't change the outcome that you would get to. But sometimes they do. Sometimes they're very significant. And depending on what you're asking about, you'll get different returns. But it's this idea of we're messing with people's brains in a way. Like, by giving this technology, we don't quite know how, in the same way that, I really think that YouTube shorts and that kind of thing, they're not great, they're not great because, like, I know so many people, and I do it myself, that you'll be sitting there and you'll have one thing pop up, and before you know it, you look at the clock and you're like, I've been sitting here for 15 minutes and I have no idea why. And you literally don't know why you spent time doing that. But there's something that's like not clicking in our brains. That's like, if I was watching a TV show and I got to the end of an episode, I would move on and do something else. But you can't do it. And it's the same with ChatGPT or Copilot and so on and so forth. There's this disconnect that no matter how often we tell people, no matter how well we know that it's likely to be wrong, we all sometimes fall into this trap of not believing that to be the case or trusting it too much. And I can completely understand why that's a very significant issue, more for people who are starting out and know a lot less contextually,
Yes.
than it is people who are experts in a
Yeah.
particular field. And we need to be on top of this. And I don't think that this is a topic that's being discussed enough. I think that we are, as a society, just taken for given these changes that AI is going to make, for good or for bad, without really thinking too hard about what are the specific impacts that we're going to see because of that. And there
Yeah.
needs to be a much broader reckoning about not just how is AI going to boost productivity here, but how is AI going to change work and what work looks like from the starting point of your first day to your last day at work? And there are creative options that are very different to the ones that we're looking at now. One of them is reducing the work week. Like that's another option, is to say, okay, we're not going to pay all this productivity into the pockets of the company owners. We're going to pay this productivity back into the time that all humans have available. And so instead of working a 40-hour work week, I'm going to work a 20-hour work week plus AI. But the structure of my business, in terms of the number of people or the different levels that we've got, isn't going to change radically from what it is right now. And I don't think there's enough people talking about those kinds of options.
I'm with you on that. But I also don't think that I think that when people do start talking about it, I just don't think it'll be loud enough. I think Amazon and other companies like Amazon releasing what was it? Releasing six figures, six digits amount of people is gonna make way more noise than somebody screaming about the opposite. It's just they're too big. I don't know where we go from here, but I remember way before AI, I always used to talk about, I think the best companies have folks in senior positions who know a whole bunch, and then folks in junior positions who are just ready to get out there and go do it. That is like a beautiful combination, because the folks who've been up there and probably see themselves in that junior person, they're probably at a different stage in life where they're like, I'm slowing down. It's about family. I've done my piece. I can ride out the rest of this. But if I see the fire in these new recruits or whatever, if you will, they want to know the information, they want to know how to do better, and they have these great new ideas, I am more than willing. You'll find yourself 9 times out of 10, you'll find these senior folks are more than willing to give all of that knowledge to the people that they see really out there trying to do their thing. So you still need that. I think that's still a thing. But if you have AI playing any part in that, it would be next to the senior person as well as next to the junior person. And now that's our big team. The big team is me as a senior, you as a junior, and we both have AI on our sides, and we're all, this is one big thing, we're working together. So I would love to see that. Not this whole letting go of people because efficiency, quote, efficiency, like get out of here. No way. It's 10 years from now, if that, it's going to look totally different. It's going to be like, well, why didn't we think about this before? All the right people are thinking about it. These other folks are like, no, drive ahead. Let's do what we got to do.
Well, I think you're entirely right. And, we talk about the time that a lot of kids missed because of COVID, like the value of that time. And I think, in a few years' time, we might be talking about the time that a lot of college graduates or school leavers missed because of this craze of AI that we've got right now. And we might be talking about that in the same way that we talk about the impact of COVID on that generation of school children. Just because, we're going to get this right in the end, but how much pain are we going to inflict on people and their futures before we get it right? And I think that's the thing that we need to be we need to be considerate, because COVID was completely out of our control. This is completely within the control of everyone who owns a business or has a say within a big corporation when it comes to hiring and structure. And so we have the ability to err on the side of caution from the start here. And I just don't see that people are doing that.
I agree. I'm with you on that. Nick, this is a really good discussion. I'd love to continue it probably in another episode. But for now, we do got to get out of here. But before we do you have any place you'd like to point people, maybe something you got going on right now?
Well, why not go check out my Responsible AI for Business Users course put together by the guy that still gets fooled by ChatGPT. You'll find out there like why you need to think about this, why this is important, and why this should be knowledge that everyone has within an organization, because you need to look out for the people you're working with. Everyone is a participant in this, and making sure we're getting the best out of this technology in the safest possible way. There'll be a link to it down below. What about you, Therman?
Well, all day, every day, you can find me on LinkedIn. Within 24 hours, if you send me a message, I'll probably get back to you. So if you're looking for any SharePoint help, find me on LinkedIn. But then also coming up on the 11th. Nope. The 10th. On the 10th at 3 p.m. Eastern, there will be I'm holding an event, a live event for accountant. So if you're an accounting manager, like you run the operations at your accounting firm, this is for you. I did part one. It was very well received, where I talked about, the basics of SharePoint, but now I'm specifically talking about getting rid of your spreadsheets. And I know you accountants love your spreadsheets. So I'm going to, all right, maybe not eliminate your spreadsheets altogether, because I know the reason why you guys use a spreadsheet the way you do. But there's other ways you use spreadsheets that I'm going to show you how to stop doing that. And that's just to run your operations at your accounting firm. So there's a possibility I might have got that time wrong. So when you check the description, you'll see the link to the event. Yeah. Make sure that you, if you can make it, definitely come out, because you also get in that industry professional development units, PDUs, I believe they're called. So you'll get 1.5 for this one. So come through. It's going to be a good time. You'll learn a lot, and we'll have a good time. So hope to see you there. And if not, like I said, find me on LinkedIn. Nick, thanks again. This was great. Really, really, really good discussion.
Yeah, thanks, Therman.
And I will see you next time.